I know. It sounds bad, but hear me out. Okay. It wasn't supposed to go down like that. My name's Jamie, and I am 28. This happened a while back, during my second deployment in Afghanistan. Dust and heat. That's what I mostly remember. And boredom. God, the boredom was the worst. We were stationed at this fob in the middle of nowhere, Helmand province. Days bled into each other, patrols that found nothing, endless equipment checks, the same tasteless chow. You start to lose it a little. You know, you look for anything to break the monotony. So, there I was, feeling overlooked. Guys were getting these little commendations left and right for spotting some potential IED or helping some local kid. Meanwhile, I was out there on the same crappy missions, humping the same heavy gear. And what did I get? Jack squat. It's not that I'm, obsessed with medals, but it's about being seen, right? Being appreciated for putting your life on the line. And honestly, I felt like the LT. That weasel Reynolds had it out for me, always nitpicking my reports, never acknowledging the crap I did, probably because I wouldn't laugh at his stupid jokes. One night, we were on patrol, routine stuff, just rolling through a village we'd hit 1,000,000 times. Nothing felt off. And then, bam, this loud crack, right near our Humvee. Everyone tensed up, hearts pounding. For a split second, I genuinely thought we were taking fire. My training kicked in. I yelled out, pointed in some general direction. The whole 9 yards. The guys in the back returned fire, spraying into nothing, as it turned out. The moment stretched, thick with adrenaline. Then it just stopped. Silence, except for the ringing in my ears. Turns out, it was our own damn vehicle. A misfire from the 50 cal mounted on top. The gunner, some nervous kid who'd barely been in country a week, had somehow managed to discharge it accidentally. The round went somewhere. Luckily, no one was hit. But in that initial chaos, with everyone freaking out, I saw my chance. Back at the FOB, the after-action report was a mess. Everyone was shaken up, trying to piece together what happened. Reynolds was barking orders, trying to look like he was in control. That's when I started planting the seed. I went up to Sergeant Miller, this grizzled dude who'd seen it all, and I was all, Sargy, you won't believe it. I saw the muzzle flash, clear as day, coming from that alleyway. If I hadn't yelled a warning, who knows what would have happened. I even added some dramatic details about the trajectory and how close the round came. Oscar-worthy performance, if I do say so myself. Miller, bless his naive heart, took it all in. He patted me on the shoulder, said I had a good head on my shoulders. That was all the encouragement I needed. Over the next few days, I subtly kept the story going. To anyone who'd listen, I'd recount the attack, each time adding a little more flair, a little more danger. I even started having flashbacks, jumpy when a door slammed. That kind of thing. Method acting at its finest. The whispers started. People were talking about that time Jamie saved the patrol. Even Reynolds seemed to look at me differently. A grudging respect, maybe? It was intoxicating. I was finally getting the recognition I deserved. And then, the rumor mill churned out something even better. A medal. Apparently, my quick thinking and bravery under fire were being put in for some kind of commendation. A fast-tracked one, no less. I played it cool, of course. Acted all humble and surprised when people mentioned it. Oh, that it was nothing. Just doing my job, I'd say, while secretly doing a little happy dance inside. I even started imagining what the medal ceremony would be like. The speech I'd give short and sweet, definitely throwing some subtle shade at Reynolds. Things were going great. Too great, maybe, because then came Diaz, Corporal Diaz. He was in our squad, a quiet guy, usually kept to himself, but he had a knack for details. After a few weeks of my embellished tales, he pulled me aside. Hey, Jamie, he said, his eyes a little too sharp. About that night, you said you saw the flash from the alley, right? My stomach did a little flip. Yeah, that's what I saw, I said, trying to sound confident. But the 50 cal casing, we found it way over here, closer to our vehicle, and the angle, it just doesn't line up with an alley shot. My mind raced. Think fast. Jamie, think fast. Well, maybe there were multiple shooters, I suggested weakly. Maybe the initial shot was from the alley, and then someone else. I trailed off, knowing it sounded ridiculous. Diaz just looked at me, a knowing look that made my skin crawl. Right? He said slowly. Multiple shooters. In the one quiet village we've patrolled 100 times. He didn't say it outright, but the implication was clear. He didn't believe a word of it. Panic started to set in. Da wasn't the type to let things go. I could see him starting to piece things together, talking to the gunner, looking at the after-action reports again. It was only a matter of time before the whole story unraveled. I tried to play it off, act like he was being paranoid. Yes. You're reading too much into this. It was a stressful situation. Things happened fast. Just drop it. Okay. But he wouldn't. He kept digging, asking questions. And slowly, the truth started to leak out. The gunner, a kid named Miller, no relation to the sergeant, thankfully, started to get nervous, remembering how jumpy he'd been that night, how his finger had slipped. The trajectory of the misfired round was analyzed again. It all pointed to an accidental discharge from our own Humvee. The whispers started again, but this time they weren't of admiration. They were of suspicion, of disbelief. Reynolds, his face a mask of barely concealed fury, called me into his office. He had Diaz's unofficial report, the gunner's shaky confession, the whole damn thing. He didn't yell. He didn't have to. His disappointment was 1,000 times worse. Thompson, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You lied. You fabricated a story about being attacked to try and get a medal. You put everyone on edge, wasted resources on a non-existent threat. And for what? For a pat on the back. I tried to deny it. Of course. Sir. I honestly believed we were fired upon. It was chaotic. I was scared. The excuses sounded pathetic, even to my own ears. Don't insult my intelligence. Thompson. He cut me off. This isn't some game. People's lives are at stake out here. Your little fantasy could have gotten someone killed. The fast-tracked medal. Gone. Any chance of future commendations? Forget about it. I was lucky they didn't slap me with some kind of disciplinary action right then and there. Reynolds made it clear that my reputation was mud. The guys in my squad avoided me. Miller, the sergeant who'd initially believed me, looked at me with a mixture of pity and disgust. Diaz just gave me this "I told you so" smirk whenever our paths crossed. The shame was intense. But did I learn my lesson? Probably not. I still think if they hadn't been so quick to jump to conclusions about the misfire, my story might have held up. They wanted to believe it was a screw-up on our end, not some actual threat. It was easier for them. The rest of that deployment was hell. I was ostracized. Given all the worst details, the jobs no one else wanted, I tried to act like it didn't bother me, like I was above it all. But inside, I was burning with resentment. They were all just jealous. I told myself, jealous that I had the guts to try and get ahead, jealous that I almost pulled it off. When we finally rotated back stateside, I couldn't wait to get out. The military wasn't for me. I decided too much drama, too many rules, too many people who just didn't appreciate my initiative. I got my discharge, packed my bags, and left that whole mess behind. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? The toxic liar gets exposed, faces some consequences, moves on, but karma, as they say, has a funny way of catching up. A few years later, I was working a dead-end job in Dallas, still telling embellished stories to try and impress people, still feeling like the world owed me something. I'd managed to build a new life, of sorts, though my relationships never seemed to last. People always seemed to eventually see through my BS, even if they couldn't quite put their finger on it. Then, one night, I was out at some bar, trying to network, aka score a better job, or maybe a rich boyfriend. I saw a group of people I vaguely recognized. Turns out, it was some guys from my old unit who had also settled in the area. One of them, a medic named Jonesy, spotted me. Hey, Thompson. Fancy seeing you here? His voice was friendly enough, but there was something off about his eyes. I plastered on a fake smile. Hey, Jonesy. Small world. Huh. Yeah, small world, he repeated, then gestured to the guys with him. You remember Miller. And that's Diaz over there. My blood ran cold. Diaz. I hadn't seen him in years. He looked different, older, harder, and his gaze was even more intense than I remembered. We made awkward small talk for a few minutes. Then, someone mentioned deployments, and the conversation drifted to our time in Helmende. Jonesy started telling a story about a particularly hairy firefight we'd been in. As he was talking, Diaz cleared his throat. Actually, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. You remember that night Thompson claimed we were attacked in that village. My heart hammered against my ribs. Here it comes. Jonesy looked confused. Yeah, what about it? Thompson said she spotted the shooter. Diaz's eyes locked on mine. There was no shooter, Jonesy. It was a misfire from our own #. Thompson made the whole thing up. The bar went quiet. Everyone was staring at me. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. That's not true. Yeah, I stammered. I saw something. It was dark. Things were confusing. No, you didn't, Diaz said flatly. We investigated. The evidence was clear. You lied to try and get a medal. The looks on their faces, disbelief, disgust, even pity. It was like that night in Reynolds' office all over again, but amplified, public. But it didn't end there. Jonesy, who'd always been a decent guy, frowned. Wait a minute. Wasn't there something about a casualty that night? One of the local kids. My breath caught in my throat. That's right. In the chaos after the misfire, a stray round, likely ours, though it was never definitively proven, had hit a nearby building. A young boy had been killed. The whole thing had been swept under the rug, officially blamed on insurgent activity. I'd almost forgotten about it, buried it deep down. Diaz's voice was grim. Yeah. Jonesy, there was... And Thompson's little drama, her made-up story, just added to the confusion. Made it harder to figure out what really happened. Who knows if things would have been different if she hadn't been yelling about non-existent attackers. The weight of those words crashed down on me. The boy, I'd almost forgotten about him. About the real consequence of that night. My lie, my selfish grab for attention, might have contributed to his death being dismissed. Another nameless casualty of war. The silence in the bar was deafening. I could feel their judgment, their condemnation, and for the first time, a tiny seed of something that might have been guilt started to sprout in the barren wasteland of my conscience. But even then, my self-preservation instincts kicked in. It wasn't my fault. I said, my voice trembling slightly. It was an accident. We were in a war zone. Bad things happen. Diaz just shook his head, a look of utter weariness on his face. Yeah. Thompson, bad things happen. Sometimes because people lie for their own selfish reasons. The night went downhill fast after that. People avoided me, whispered behind my back. The networking opportunity was gone. I left the bar feeling exposed, humiliated, but still resentful. They didn't understand. They didn't know what it was like to be overlooked, to feel invisible. I was just trying to get ahead. But the damage was done. The story Diaz told that night spread like wildfire among the local veteran community. My reputation was ruined, not just from my time in service, but here at home too. People saw me for what I was, a liar, someone who would put her own selfish desires above the truth, above the lives of others. Job prospects dried up. People I'd tried to befriend suddenly became distant. The whispers followed me. I tried to date, but it always seemed to come out eventually. Oh, you're that Jamie Thompson. Loneliness became my constant companion. The fleeting moments of attention I'd craved were replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. I'd achieved my selfish goal of something, recognition, maybe, but now I was recognized for all the wrong reasons. And the worst part, even now, years later, I still don't truly think it was all my fault. If that stupid gunner hadn't been so clumsy, if Reynolds hadn't had it in for me, if Diaz hadn't been such a nosy busybody, if the army had just appreciated my talents, if I live a quiet life now, on the fringes. The fast track I tried to create for myself led nowhere but a dead end. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that boy, about the lie that started it all. But mostly, I just feel sorry for myself. Sorry that things didn't work out the way I planned. Sorry that everyone else was too blind to see my potential. And definitely sorry that I ever got stuck in that dusty hellhole in the first place. It's their fault. Really, they just never understood me.